Hey YouTube, Jumpmaster RC coming at you today with another bench video. Today we are doing the ultimate body strengthening upgrade. That's right, we are installing none other than the M2C chassis on the Kraton 6S V5. What I've already done is I've already removed all of the screws from the old chassis, and I've also dropped the front and rear suspensions. But in doing so, I wanted to just point out a couple of things. So one of the things that I wanted to point out is that in removing the vehicle parts from the chassis, I did expose quite a bit of dirt and grime that I wasn't able to get to previously in my cleanings. So as you can see here, a lot of dirt and grime in here, stuff that's just really makes it gritty. Also, you'll notice that there's quite a bit of dirt and grime both around the differential, but also up inside there. So at this point, what I'm going to do is disassemble the differential and clean that out, as well as clean out the body parts that I can. And the same goes with the rear. So I'll be cleaning around the differential. And I'll also be replacing the droop screws that are included with the M2C chassis. So what I've also done is I've traced the outline of the chassis onto a piece of cardboard. This was the best I had at the time, and I have placed the screws into the slots on the cardboard so that I know exactly what screws to place in what holes as I'm putting the vehicle back together. So I'm going to go ahead and step away really quick and go ahead and get these cleaned up. When I come back, we'll get the vehicle installed onto the new chassis. All right, guys, so I've got my parts cleaned up. This is the old chassis. It's not bent or anything. It's just that if I'm going to start doing the kind of jumps that I want to do, if I want to send it the way that I want to send it, this was a necessary upgrade. So not only is it a huge upgrade with regard to the beef factor, but it's also a huge upgrade in regards to my confidence in knowing that I can send this the way I want to send it, and I'm not going to damage things the way that I would have previously. So that's the reason for doing all of these upgrades, guys, is I want to be able to send it like you've seen some of these other guys send it, and when I get done, I'm going to be able to, so look forward to those videos. All right, folks, so once you've went ahead and disassembled the vehicle parts from your old chassis and you've cleaned them up to your satisfaction, we're ready to go ahead and start reinstalling. This is when the diagram that we have right here comes in super handy. So nothing to it but to do it. Let's get started. Folks, don't forget anywhere that you have metal on metal, you're going to want to put some Loctite in there. All right, so we're going to do this next part sort of in stages, right? But all together at the same time, if you catch my drift. So what I'm going to do is put everything in here loosely and then tighten everything down at the end. That way I can mock things up, slide things around, move them as necessary, and then tighten it all down when I'm satisfied with where everything is. All right, so next we're going to reinstall the stock bumper, which also acts as a hinge pin retainer. The M2C website does say that if you do not use a stock bumper, that you'll need to use this plastic bushing, and you can see where it would install or where it would go in right there. Next, we'll put on the front suspension as well as the RPM front bumper that I've had on here before. Certainly you can use an EXB bumper as well if you choose. I do have one, but I'm going to wait until I destroy this one if I do before I put that on. So one quick thing to note, and I was able to get away with it before, but the M4x12 bolts are not going to work anymore because of the way that the chassis is drilled. So you're going to need to go with an M4x16. The longer bolts were provided in the RPM kit, but I chose to not use them, and I actually don't have them in with my spare screws right now. So just something to keep in mind as you're putting everything back together. So another thing to notice is that if you've gone in and cleaned out your external diff grease the way I have, once you get this reinstalled, you're going to want to go back in there, open up your differentials, and put the external diff grease back in there. Also, if you choose to now, you can go ahead and go in and remove your droop screws, your old droop screws, and replace them, replace the new ones. So what that is doing is, as I turn to the left, that is bringing my droop screw up, and I will allow you to make the determination as to what the proper droop setting is based on your driving preference and application. For me, I'm going to bring mine all the way up for now. All right, YouTube. So had a little bit of a delay, a little bit of a snag. So the battery died right as I was tightening down the last bit of the things that I was putting on, and it's actually a good thing that it did. Learn from my mistakes. I've actually redone this about 4 different times now. One of the things that I keep saying is don't tighten down your nuts and bolts, your screws, until everything is in place. Do a mock-up first. But it's helpful if I actually take my own advice. I had gotten everything together and realized that I didn't have the dog bones in for the drive shafts here, rather. And so I tried to put things back together just by loosening things up. That didn't work. I ended up having to take the whole front and rear end off again, which was good because I had forgotten to replace the droop screws. Now I have all 4 droop screws replaced. I have everything set and ready to stage, put together loosely, and then tighten things down at the end. So here we go. All right, so I went ahead and got everything in here nice and loose. The front is tight, not all the way down, but it is pretty tight. I've got the EXB chassis brace in loosely. Again, I'll be tightening this down after I tighten up the rest of the rear end. All right, and now I'm going to go through one more time. Make sure everything is tightened down. Alright folks, once you've gone through and made sure that all of your screws are tightened down, reconnect your wires and your fan to the ESC. Go ahead and zip tie down anything that was zip tied down before. Reconnect your body support modification. Reconnect your servo and reset your servo endpoints. Your M2C chassis swap is essentially complete.